Chancellor Rolf Hougen.
Good afternoon. There are so many here. I'll phrase it as ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, graduating student families, but most importantly, Yukon College graduates. First time in this magnificent hall, this magnificent theater, that the ceremony has been held. As your Chancellor, I'd like to congratulate all of you students for working hard, working diligently to arrive at this point. I know full well the commitment you've made to your education. Many of you have had to balance your family life with the work demands and the constant rigors of pursuing your college education. As a family man myself with 6 children, 18 grandchildren, I understand somewhat what many of you are going through and have gone through to this point. In many ways, the challenges you face today are much greater than the challenges of my generation. The world has changed a great deal, and education has become a necessity. Graduating from high school in 1947, I was already so engaged in our small family business that my plans to go on the Royal Roads, I'd been a Navy cadet at one time, that's what prompted me to be interested in Royal Roads on Vancouver Island. My plans were deferred. However, I never did go. Rather, over the years, our retail business grew to become the Yukon's largest, and along the way I acquired and started quite a number of other businesses that was referred to a moment ago. There was a great deal of opportunity in the Yukon in those days. Why do I tell you this? Well, today, without an educational foundation, doing what I did is likely pretty well impossible. Obviously, you're aware of that in as much as you're on that road already in getting an education. Let me give you some advice, as I see it. You have to be prepared to work extremely hard, day and night. Build yourself a person of integrity, trustworthiness, and ensure that you have a reputation of honesty. And I think the honesty part is so very important. When you go to your banker and tell them what you want to do, you have to build up a position of trust with them and with others you deal with. I always say that I used to go to my banker, I'd go to my chartered accountant, I'd go to my lawyer, and I wouldn't take any of their advice, but I'd take some from each and then make my own decision, and it seemed to have worked. Don't allow yourself to buy every luxury. You know, people put their shingle out, they're in business, and they say, I'm successful, and then they buy a boat and a motorbike and everything else. Next thing you know, they're bankrupt. You have to be very careful with your debt. It can bring you down quickly. You can't move too fast. You have to build a good, solid foundation. Once you've done this, after a period of time, you will end up being able to afford those great luxuries that you've had to defer for a few years. If you're determined, you will succeed. Just the other day, I read an obituary of a longtime acquaintance who built a major business empire. His advice was, bite off more than you could chew and then chew like hell. Well, I'm not advocating that necessarily, but I do on reflection believe that perhaps I did that a few times during my career. Walt Disney, a great family man and a great entrepreneur, as all of you know, he said about success, all of your dreams can come true if you have the courage to pursue them. Well, Have the courage to trust yourself. Have the courage to take risks. Have the courage to fail. And finally, have the courage to not give up and try again. I guess you could say I had the courage when I said yes to becoming chairman of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Before I accepted this appointment, the Chamber had been headed by bank presidents and head of large industrial corporations. They had never gone to a small businessman to head such a major organization. And believe me, I was surprised when I was asked. I was certainly not in a position to think I could do it. I phoned several of my friends and I said, what's it all about? I said, if I get on the ladder of third vice president, second, can I get off that ladder at any time? And they said, yes, if you don't think you want to go through with it, there's no problem. So you do need courage and you do need vision. You need vision for your life. And I suspect many of you, as graduates, already have a vision. And I would suggest you don't lose that vision. What is it, you would ask? Well, vision is a dream of where you want to go in your life. It's a dream that you can use as your guide in the future. It's a rudder of your life, and this will keep you very focused. You know where you want to go, and you're determined to get there. And look what you've already done. You've graduated. From my experience, I want to share one final thing with you. Our 6 children pursued an education in various universities and other places, some in France, and some worked elsewhere. One son worked for our CanCon company in Montreal and Toronto, another worked with Eric Nielsen in Ottawa, and so on. But in the end, they all came back to the Yukon. And you can imagine how proud my wife and I are to have all of our children with their spouses here in the Yukon, and all of our 18 grandchildren here in the Yukon, 8 of which are now off to university themselves. Maybe I should say here they didn't go to the college. I don't think it was, at the time they were graduating, it was well enough known. It's got a higher profile, and I would certainly recommend to any young students today, they take their first year or two here before, as your slogan goes, moving anywhere. So I hope too that when you graduate in whatever field you're going to choose, academic or in the trades, you too will end up making the Yukon your home. Thank you very much.